This is what clients are saying. Let's take a look at market intel. So when clients are talking about their relationship with their lawyer or with their law firm, this is what they say. Look, call me with new developments. I want you to be my trusted advisor. Invest in our relationship. I like alerts and webinar invitations. This is really helpful for you to understand now, but also in the engaging client outreach session that we do, because we want to understand where clients, what they're thinking and where they're coming from. And you quickly realize those silly roadblocks of the past don't work anymore, because this is what a client is saying. Know my business. Help me advise management. Invest in our relationship. Give me new ideas. 70% of clients want more communication with their lawyer and law firm. They say, reach out to me. It has to be meaningful. Maybe it's once a quarter. And you'll have that strategy now to calendar that and to make sure that it's a regular, meaningful content that you're sharing with them. Don't spam them every day or once a week. 35% want to brainstorm. This is great, especially when you're dealing with existing clients. You know, it's maybe the end of the year, the beginning of the year, and you can set up a session. Look, I'd like to talk for 30 minutes about what your coming year looks like, issues that you see, services that you're developing, what your business plans are for the year. Clients want that very much so. They don't want to hear from their lawyers just when you want work. They want to hear way before then, and they want you to invest in the relationship and know what's going on in their business. Pipeline. Yes, you have a pipeline. Let's take a moment here and really kind of dig into this. And if you want to pause and read that for a sec, go ahead. The idea is that new people come into your work and they start in that lower left-hand corner. And you knowing this and you knowing how to engage them over time and level of engagement, so you see the X and Y coordinates there, moves them along through this pipeline. Sometimes when I'm doing this with attorneys and I say sales pipeline, they freak out. And I think I say this in the takeaways, don't freak out. You should know this, that any business, not just a retailer, but any professional service, doctors, accountants, lawyers, should understand this. So I've just met somebody, lower left-hand corner there. I'm at a conference, I meet somebody, we swap LinkedIn information or cards or whatever. You come away from that, hey, it was great to meet you. Here's an article on that issue you were mentioning. You keep this in mind, and this is part of your plan. Okay, we're doing a webinar on tax issues that might be interesting to you. Maybe it's not what I do, but maybe to that new contact, it would be really helpful. So you send them some kind of direct communication, invite them to an event or a seminar. That leads generally over time to a face-to-face pitch, which turns them into a client, which turns them into a loyal client. Remember, 75% of new clients come through existing clients and contacts. So understanding this, understanding it takes time, and understanding the level of engagement is really valuable to you. I think I say in the takeaway that most attorneys report meeting about 8 to 10 new people a year. You need to organize those 8 to 10 new contacts. You really don't know where that's going to go. And I'm not sure what that percentage might be that turned into a really valuable client. It's probably, 10, 20%, but you don't know that out of those first 8, who's going to be the one. So anyway, knowing your pipeline, having that fit into your mindset about it takes time, clients want me to engage with them, and I need to develop good habits and shed bad ones. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a little more detail. So hopefully in an introduction to business development, I know it's a bit overwhelming, but pause at any point, watch something over again, use the outline, use the takeaways, use the worksheet. Start broad when you're thinking about this, when you're at the point of introduction to business development. Like client relationships, generating, building a new network, writing, speaking, getting published. These next 2 screens are the building blocks of business development for an attorney. when attorneys come to me and say, what should I do? I'm willing to do this, but what are the areas? Do I start a blog? Do I write more? Do I go to events and conferences? What are the most useful activities that have the highest return on investment? So these definitely. Being active with sponsored organizations, providing content, LinkedIn, hosting or co-hosting events. Those 8 areas that I've just mentioned are, as I said, the fundamental building blocks of business development. And you can stop on any one of these, like providing content. I'd like to help out with our firm's newsletter, or I'd like to be doing 2 a year or quarterly, or maybe you do have a blog. Great. Or the firm, somebody else does, and you can, say, hey, I've got content that applies to what you're doing. Being regular with that and providing more exposure of yourself out on the market, great idea. LinkedIn, we have a whole session on LinkedIn, and there's some statistics coming up here that will hopefully get you to say, how do I be a little bit more active with LinkedIn? So each of those 8 areas have further, like there's a second half to that sentence, and here they are. Being active with sponsored organizations, for example. And again, we'll look at this in a little bit more detail. How can I, with this Chamber of Commerce or with the state bar or with this trade and industry group that I'm involved with, how can I be more active with that? And on building and curating your referral networks, there's a whole sheet of things that you can do based off my work with you, right? Getting on subcommittees, working groups, hosting them, inviting other attorneys to those events. So all of those building blocks have a second half to what I was just expounding on there for a moment. So when you start broad like that, then you start to, as you get more familiar with this, remember that circle of the perpetuation or perpetual motion of excitement when you're doing this, understanding some of this. 65% of new matters come from existing clients. 25% of new matters come from existing referral sources. 75% of new clients, so different than matters, come, as I've mentioned, existing clients and referral sources. We'll look at this in a little bit more detail. But knowing the journey that a potential client makes is so valuable for you throughout your career. 92% of the time, they ask for a referral from somebody they know or trust. 65% of the time, that person says, we used Sally Smith over at Smith & Jones. Here's what happened. We had a good outcome. Here's her contact information. That person stops shopping, so to speak. They have a recommendation from somebody they trust. 65% of the time, that's the firm they hire. Wow, that's great to know. And it's great to have your clients be in that loop. That's why we talked about in the pipeline, having them be loyal clients and referring clients is great. There's a whole session on existing clients in engaging client outreach. I hope you watch this. There's a whole session that we have or module on growing and cultivating your referral network. I hope you do this one as well. Lots of information there. And I think, as I mentioned at the beginning, all 5 of these together is a real masterclass in kind of everything you need to know about business development as an attorney. Not just need to know, but the actions that you can take. It really, this is the business school for lawyers that you didn't have back in law school or back in undergrad. Hey, maybe you went to business school. But here's the opportunity to really learn the business side of being an attorney. Those 2 sessions are great.